Hello, we're the GLS team, and first we're going to give a little bit of context about who we are and our roles. Justine is the Recycling Program Manager for Green Living Science. She oversees commercial, multifamily, municipal, oh, sorry. She oversees commercial, multifamily, and municipal recycling programs through Detroit Recycles. She's passionate about developing sustainability in the workplace and helps Detroiters build long-standing and successful recycling programs. She also helps to manage the Be Green Business Program and Green Living Science Eagles Department grant for a multifamily recycling pilot, local circular economy project, and drafting a zero waste plan for the city. Justine's interest in creative reuse, workplace sustainability, and circular economy comes from her background in sustainable industrial design, which she studied at the University of Michigan and also gained a minor in entrepreneurship. She is true zero waste advisor certified and is excited to see the city reduce their waste more and more each year.
Thanks, Cam. And Kamryn Gardner is the Community Engagement Program Manager at Green Living Science, overseeing programs focused on curbside and public space recycling education. She works closely with community members to activate public parks through stewardship efforts, promote recycling, and foster environmental leadership at the neighborhood level. Kamryn manages a team of ambassadors and park champions who help lead community outreach, organize cleanups, canvass neighborhoods, all to increase curbside recycling participation and connect Detroiters back to nature. Through this work, she helps build community leadership and a culture of stewardship to keep Detroit clean and green. Cam holds a degree in environmental studies and sustainability from Michigan State University and is passionate about empowering Detroit residents to become stewards of their local environment. All right, and now we'll begin our presentation. I'll let Cam take it from here. This is the our what we presented at the MRC conference in 2025 on advancing recycling in Detroit. So I'll let Cam take it from here.
Yeah, today we're going to be taking a deeper dive into the city of Detroit and how we use delegation of tasks to build capacity within our work. So here's a quick overview of the agenda that we'll go through today. We'll do a short introduction of who Green Living Science is, a review of the short history of waste in Detroit. We'll talk about our engagement and education strategies, delegation and capacity building, and looking forward / how can we make some cultural shifts for Detroiters. So, a little bit more about Green Living Science. Our mission is to transform Detroit by teaching about waste and recycling. And we envision a city where Detroit residents can dive deeper into sustainable topics such as environmental literacy, using advocacy for their communities, stewarding the land, and demanding environmental justice. Our three pillars of Green Living Science are youth, community, and business. However, youth has always been the heart and soul of our programming because it allows us to focus on that next generation of educational leaders within environmental education. And we got our start in 2011. As an environmental education nonprofit, we're contracted by the city of Detroit to perform education with each sign up. So we're working with an opt-in program, and here's just a few ways that we like to um, build the city to continue supporting our work, whether that be commercial and multifamily onboarding, customer service, so taking resident phone calls, and even performing staff educations within workplaces and businesses. So
All
now
right.
I'll pass it to Justine to talk a little bit more about the history of waste in Detroit.
Thanks, Cam. So, yeah, in order to understand where we are today, it's important to understand where we came from, and that would not be possible without paying tribute to our activists and community residents that have really had to bear the brunt of the waste industry in Detroit historically. So, this is a picture of the incinerator that was kind of smack dab in the middle of the city, uh, used to burn trash, not just from the Detroit community, but communities around. Organizations like Breathe Free Detroit worked hard to close this incinerator as it was impacting the health of residents in the area. This incinerator closed due to a high amount of violations, receiving violations from Eagle day after day, sometimes multiple in one day. It was open for about 30 years and finally shut down in 2019. This is an image of Recycle Here. It doesn't look like a recycling drop-off center, but once you open those garage doors, you'll find a self-sorting facility inside. It is also the location of the Lincoln Street Art Park where we are located. And this used to be an illegal dumping site, one of the many in the city that was a place where people would drop off, extra excess trash and bulk waste, really affecting kind of those vacant areas and places that residents should be, outdoors connecting with nature. But unfortunately, this was an illegal dumping site. And after all of those activists in the community worked to improve those issues. One of these initiatives to change and shift waste reduction in the city was Detroit Recycles. So this is our joint program with the Department of Public Works. We're here to increase recycling on all pillars, as Cam said, and improving access for the community. And she will go over more of what our contract between the Department of Public Works and GLS looks like.
Yeah, within our three pillars, we like to customize our strategy based on our target audience. We engage with a wide range of stakeholders, and we really want them to be educated and included in the conversation of waste within their city. We try to meet residents where they are, whether it's a workshop for a block club, a pre-K lesson at a Detroit public school, or even a staff education for a business. So basically, from phone calls to waste audits, we are your one-stop shop for all things recycling education. Along with our custom engagement strategies, we like to couple our program with tailored resources to continue the education at home. So here, this graph shows the different engagement avenues that we have for each pillar and those education styles that we like to work within for that target audience. We provide youth educational resources such as our Be Green in Your Backyard activity book, refrigerator magnets for each sign up, and even online resources for teachers and educators, and so much more. And here is kind of some visual examples of all of those things that we just listed. We even have oops tags for contamination checks and are trying to grow our online video presence. And now we'll talk a little bit more about the curbside program with some of those numbers. As Justine mentioned, our pilot program launched in 2008, and that went citywide in 2015. So this graph just shows how recyclers find out about the program, and our number one source is our educational programs. Number two is actually word of mouth. So I still do hear from residents that, people were wondering where they got the blue bins from. And word of mouth is just a great way to make sure that people are educated on where to find their recycling bins, and a lot of those just come up in conversations. We also like to leverage our online presence to reach different audiences and improve access to recycling via social media posts, newsletters, and even some YouTube videos, as previously mentioned. So this is just a breakdown of our recycling process from sign up to delivery. Residents will start by registering at a community event, whether that be a tabling, a workshop, or a canvassing. From there, our recycling ambassadors have about 2 business days to go ahead and convert that information digitally to make sure that the GLS staff can then order it on a online platform called See Click Fix. Then DPW receives those orders and delegates them to the corresponding hauler. So we have 2 haulers within our city. Waste management WM is responsible for covering the west side territory of the city, and Priority Waste handles the east side. And from there, the cart is usually delivered within about 2 weeks. Residents engage with our recycling ambassadors or GLS staff. Oh, sorry. So now we'll talk about how we expand capacity with our recycling ambassadors. Our team is very small with 6 full-time staff, so we really rely on our contractor model to expand our capacity within the community. The Recycling Ambassador program employs Detroit residents who are passionate about sustainability to host tablings at community events, workshops, and canvassings in districts all across Detroit. We conduct an annual training to ensure that recycling ambassadors feel comfortable in delivering the environmental education to their communities, and we also meet monthly as a group to discuss upcoming events, solicit feedback from the recycling ambassadors, and provide professional development opportunities to expand on their skills as community leaders. We like to invest in the community by hiring these contractors because not only does it expand our reach, but also helps us to build community. Our community model also allows residents to educate one another, build public trust within the city departments, build community, boost local economy, and also lead with grassroots efforts. So just helps us to make sure that we are creating those economic pathways for Detroiters to grow within this environmental sector if they so choose. And we also want to talk about canvassing. So canvassing is a huge part of our outreach as it accounts for 25% of our signups on average. We try to reach about 250 or more households within each canvassing event. And although we reach residents that day of directly through the canvassing, we see 3 times the total number of signups roll in within a 30-day period, just due to the door hanger literature that we use, which allows residents to sign up via QR code, website, or by giving us a call to start the sign up process. And here's just a few of our impact numbers to help connect the dots between our programs and how they translate to data. So our participation rate for the curbside program is 43%, which translates to about 91,000 households out of 227,000 households. We're continuously inching towards our goal as 1% translates to about 2,000 households. So keep that number in mind when you think about the scale of our programs when it comes to 6 people and delegating that work outward. Our our contamination rate is 32%, which we are proud to report is below the national average. And around 40% of all signups citywide come directly from Green Living Science in our education efforts. Our Recycling Ambassador program helps us to connect with our neighbors in meaningful ways. It also allows us to tailor our messaging based on community feedback, reduce confusion about the recycling program in general, and boost the participation of the curbside recycling program. And now I'll pass it to Justine to expand a little bit more about our youth education programs.
Thank you, Cam. So, yeah, as Green Living Science was founded on youth education, we started off offering field trips to the recycling center and the Lincoln Street Art Park to students, and then kind of pivoted to meeting them with where they are at and doing assemblies in schools and a bunch of other youth programming. So it's really important to reach our littlest learners through pre-K lessons, assemblies, field trips, our Earth Day programming, and our student recycling ambassador kind of camp that we have. So when it comes to our pre-K lessons and assemblies, we have a wonderful education team who is out there in the schools giving an assembly to students. And at the end of the assembly, they're able to take a voucher home to their parents that tells them, here's a voucher for a free recycling cart. You can either call Green Living Science or you can return this back to the student schools. And we do have kind of like incentivized programs where the class with the most signups will get like a pizza party or the teacher will get a gift card. And this is a super, super successful avenue for us to increase the curbside recycling rate, as about a third of all our cart signups a year come from our assemblies and our pre-K lessons. Pre-K lessons are pretty similar, so they are really tiny humans. They're not going to big school assemblies, but our education team does go in and teach them about not just recycling, but the other two R's, reduce and reuse as well. Teach them about picking up litter and all that stuff. You know, a lot of times we see parents who recycle at home or end up recycling in their workplace, and they say, we did not know or participate in recycling until our students came home and yelled at us and said, we have to recycle. So it really is, these really are the people of the future, who will be our future leaders who are pushing recycling and environmental efforts forward in their own communities from such a young age. We also have our high school recycling ambassador program. So this program is meant to, again, give students specifically in high school and going into college access to kind of different sorts of environmental activism and education in their community. So they are brought on like a canvassing event, and they do talk to us and our partners, and they get lessons about different eco efforts in the community. And the hope is that one day they'll become a park champion, one day they'll become a recycling ambassador, or they'll go on to get a green job. I think we had one student go on to study environmental engineering, and we also have student recycling ambassadors that are now our real adult full-time contracted ambassadors. So again, these are just some of our impact numbers. Um, Reaching almost 9,000 students in one year, and then a lot of those bring back vouchers or sign up for recycling carts at their home afterwards. We actually don't have recycling programs in school anymore. This was a program that they had budgeted for before COVID, but is no longer in existence, and it's something we're working on getting back, especially because we're so involved in schools currently. So we talked about bringing recycling to the community. We've talked about bringing recycling to youth, and the final pillar is workplaces. So part of our contract with the city of Detroit, we engage with the community on all these three pillars. When you zoom in to workplace recycling, you can go in further and break it down between commercial, municipal, and multifamily. So with our contract with the city of Detroit, we're able to engage with all of these different sectors on any aspect and test different forms of education with them. The most important thing when it comes to commercial businesses is to make sure that they have a long-standing and successful recycling program. We want them to make sure that they're getting their money's worth. So, one of the things we do with Detroit Recycles is offer the commercial program. So, this is serviced by the city. Obviously, they can go with other private haulers, but this program is pretty affordable. We're transparent about where the materials go, and the program has grown. It's only been around for about 5 years, and has grown significantly since its birth. So, we also work with all municipal buildings in the city when it comes to any building, unless it's like downtown or in an inaccessible place. They all have a recycling program. So this is a little different than a commercial business, as they seek us out because they want recycling and they want our help, they want our education. And when it comes to municipal buildings, it's already integrated into their program, and it will stay in their program because it is a city service that goes along with working there. So our education styles for here are a little different. While when we work with commercial buildings, it's often like recycling trainings every couple years, usually when they ask. We just do a workshop, and then employees are able to sign up for a recycling cart once they receive the training, if they live in the city and are in a single family home or duplex. They can also do that for municipal recycling when they attend the trainings. So we again have to meet them where they're at. There are a lot of firehouses in Detroit, for example, and they're very busy on the clock, and when they're not out in the field, they're resting for their next call. So what we did, a recent project that we did was go to over 15 different firehouses. We provided signage and magnets for all of them, and then did a training for the people that were there. And sometimes when we were there, they would tell us like we have a cart missing or something like that, and we like put in work orders for that and provided signage. We even saw some old fridge magnets that they had from the last time we were there, maybe 5 years ago. So when it comes to multifamily recycling, yes, we did open that can of worms, and we are currently testing different forms of education, different levels of engagement, thinking about who we engage with and the most important people to get on board for for this type of program. So we have to kind of coordinate with on all three aspects to create a successful program here. We have to get their leadership on board, their property management, and if anyone has also opened this can of worms before, you'd know that a property manager, with the property manager, you have about 30 seconds of their time. So it really is kind of cutting to the basics. They know they want a recycling program when they ask for it or when we engage with them the first time. So it is about making things as easy as possible for them. And the next group of people for multifamily that we engage with is our maintenance team. So at this specific location in this picture, it's a senior home, and the person who services their bins coordinated with me. And I walk in to give this education, and I'm handed a sticky note that says all the things that these folks are putting in their recycling bin that should not be there. So we had done contamination checks for this location before, and it was about like 30%, so kind of around the average, nothing too out of the ordinary. But I did learn that on the inside, um, their maintenance person was doing a lot of work to, decrease contamination. So we had guessed that their contamination probably would have been about 50 to 70%, if not for that one person. And then, can also be improved with education and more coordination and making things easier for him. So, because of that feedback loop, I was then able to educate the residents and tell them, hey, maybe don't put your whole takeout container with all of your chicken tenders in the recycling, because it's styrofoam and food, and neither of those are recyclable. Um, and yeah, we were able to get the messaging across to them because we had worked with that maintenance person. All right. So we had gone over our three pillars. The next portion is kind of looking forward at what we're doing, including, public space recycling and some other things, and I'll let Cam take it from here.
Yeah, so as DPW expands their public recycling infrastructure, we really want to make sure education is present in all corners of the city, from parks to schools to neighborhoods, to reinforce the citywide value that it brings. Within that process, it's important that residents are implemented into the new program that they receive. As we venture into public space recycling, we're able to create new community-led programs like Our Backyard Detroit. This is our park stewardship program focused on anti-littering programming, public space recycling education, and a personal passion of mine, which is connecting Detroiters to nature. I can remember my first connection in nature moment, and it was kind of like a light switched on, and I was able to appreciate the beauty and complexity of nature in my first time hiking up north, when I was forced to go to a STEM camp that my mom signed me up for. However, I'm super grateful for the experience, and I would like to provide similar types of experiences for Detroiters. So the program is all about enriching our park champions and the community by allowing another contractor model to bridge city departments and Detroit residents. We provide funding and resources to support park cleanups, but in a fun way. The cleanup themes are completely left to the contractor or the park champion themselves. So we kind of let them decide where they want to take the programming, whether it be eco images like a paint party and an art cleanup. If they are focused on health and wellness, we'll do yoga and a park cleanup. And kind of just let the community receive the programming that they want to by soliciting feedback through surveys, and essentially creating more core memories in the green spaces for future generations. According to a survey that was conducted by the city of Detroit, 54% of Detroit residents prioritize a clean neighborhood. And this survey was a part of the Sustainable Action Agenda that the city of Detroit came out with. So there's a strong need directly from the community to provide solutions to these concerns that are outlined within the Sustainable Action Agenda. And as we shift the culture and help to provide these resources to reframe how Detroiters think about their green spaces, we are creating long-lasting impact, removing microplastics from our parks and waterways, providing environmental education, and creating core memories by connecting Detroiters to nature and their green spaces.
All right, so these are just some of the ways that we have created feedback loops again to create successful recycling programs. We talked a little bit about our contamination checks. Every year or so, we'll go to commercial buildings, municipal buildings, and then public spaces to do contamination checks and measure and really show us how to implement re-education based on the things that we found. Another thing we do is our recycling audit. So we'll do those about once every 2 years. And this does also help with our messaging and developing broader educational materials for the community. Uh, we're sorting the different contaminants and measuring them and all that stuff. And these are really create successful feedback loops as people are learning how to recycle, and these programs are integrated more and more into their everyday lives. These are just some of the sustainability action agenda items created for the city of Detroit that Green Living Science and Our Backyard Detroit backs. So all of these kind of tie back to that healthy living through environmental work and connecting ourselves to green spaces and really creating those healthy spaces to live in. Similarly, we developed a draft of a zero waste plan with other community organizations and the Department of Public Works. So we added this to kind of bring everything full circle. 30, 40 years ago, we had an incinerator that was in our backyard until up until less than 10 years ago. And we have created such a great culture shift, and our communities are enthusiastic about being greener and being healthier in their living places. So now we have a zero waste plan that we're working on developing. Organizations like Breathe Free Detroit and others that had worked to shut down the incinerator were on our advisory committee for this. And these 5 goals are just some of the action items, the overall action items that we have to implement this. And we have further measurables and all this stuff that we are excited to share in the future. So thank you so much for listening to this. If you don't normally talk to Cam or myself, you can always reach out to us to talk about ideas and anything like that. We love to collaborate. So thank you.
Thank you.